Howdy everyone, welcome back to HexHunter. Today we're going to be taking a look at a budget wild deck. And for this budget wild deck, I thought let's go ahead and go with a Shin'hare theme because we see a lot of great Shin'hare uncommons as we go through the set. So let's go ahead and take a quick gander at it and see what we got. So in a budget wild deck, you're wanting to look for uncommon cards that have a good board presence, and not just a good board presence, you want them to make a splash every time they hit. Because one of the biggest misgivings about wild decks in the first set, Shards of Fate, is that the really cool wild cards are either rare or legendary. So what we can do for that is that Shin'hare actually provide quite a few uncommon and common obstacles for the opponent, and they have really good synergy. So in the uncommons, we happen to have cards like Runeir Commander that gets +1/+1 for each troop that you control. Shin'hare decks are also very good at being able to produce troops very quickly. You can produce 3, sometimes 4 troops by turn 2 or turn 3. It's not uncommon to have about 6 troops by turn 4 when you're dropping the Runeir Commander. Another one, since we're running a Shin'hare synergistic deck, Bucktooth Commander. All other Shin'hare get +1/+1. Now both of these share a very close spot, one at the 3 slot, one at the 4 slot. But since we're running a highly synergistic deck, we went with 4 the Bucktooth, and we went with 2 of the Runeir because it's sharing the same spot as our Honeycap. We're running a mono wild deck, and as mono wild, Honeycap is very good at handling bounce mechanics that you can see in Flyers and Sapphire decks. So a Honeycap is going to need to actually eat removal that pulls it from play, not that just bounces it back in the hand, because every time it gains +1/+1 for your wild threshold, it stacks. So your opponent does not want to bounce a Honeycap back in your hand for tempo because it starts giving you value every time you play it back down. Then we have some pretty good support cards in here. We have the Shroom Tank in our 5 slot to help support the Runeir Commander. We have the Conky Bunny in the lower spot so that we can start producing more Shin'hare for blockers as well as for the commander. We have Cottontail Ronin in at the early 1 slot so that we can put on a little early aggression. One of the things that's also very important for this deck though is that you need the ability to drop some removal, so we are main decking Survival of the Fittest. In the reserves for a deck like this, you're going to want probably 2 more Survival of the Fittest, as well as probably 2 Turbulences and 2 Nature's Reigns, just because of the prevalence in a lot of different type of artifacts and flyers that exist. We're running a couple command towers as well, because they work very similar to the Bucktooth Commander. We want a little bit of push through, so we're running some Bottled Vitae. And for some combat tricks, we're going ahead and we're running 4 Wild Growth, and we're running 3 Wild Aura, because there's nothing like those Shin'hare getting so big that they can't be handled anymore. Then we have some standard stars like the Minaru Sensei, as well as a couple runs of the Lida. So with all of this together, it's a very synergistic style of deck. It's definitely weak to flyers, so you want to save your Survival of the Fittest for those creatures that you could not normally block. So let's go ahead and we've already got this saved, so let's go ahead and take this to the Proving Grounds and take it against the AI to see how we roll. So in the budget wild deck versus the AI, the weakest matchup is actually against Feather Drifting Downriver. Versus each of the other AIs, the budget wild deck does pretty well at holding its own. So we take a look at a hand like this, and what we see is we see actually a very slow starting hand. We have enough shards to be able to play out our cards, but we're not going to be able to do anything for those first 3 turns. Against this AI opponent, that is fairly handleable, unless of course the AI drops a turn 6 bomb on us that we can't handle yet. Because we're facing the AI, we'll go ahead and keep this hand. I would recommend seriously considering a mulligan if you were in a more competitive environment, just because you'd want an earlier play to prevent some of the shenanigans we're seeing come down. So really early aggression can throw you down on your health, and if you only pull shards like what we just pulled and not some of your early blockers, or maybe a Minaru Sensei for a turn 2 blocker and card pull, it can be less than advantageous. Because what we want to see, because with our Runeer Commander, is we want to drop down, we want to build our army more specifically. So you see, now we have a wild growth, and this is going to help limit some of our some of the damage done to us. Because in our next turn, we're going to be able to block the 3/1 with a combat trick. But until then, we're still going to be taking our 4. So we're already down to lower. We've already lost more than 25% of our health. Our opponent has an increased board presence on us. But for our board presence though, we now have a blocker in play and we have a combat trick ready to go. So all will attack. With 3 cards in hand, we're not super worried about this guy becoming any more powerful. So we want to go ahead and block the 3/1. And let's go ahead and use our Wild Aura to get that out of the way now. So our bunny survives, you only take 2 damage. This is fairly common for the AI at the moment to not create its Blaze Elemental in the first phase. We should have taken an additional 3 damage for that. So now where we're at, we happen to have another combat trick as well as a Wild Aura. Our best bet now is to actually drop our Honey Cat. Go ahead and put in that solid 4/4 to block. Now it's less likely that our opponent is going to want to attack into that 4/4. The challenge we're going to have here is if on turn 6 we're going to be dealing with an Ash Harpy. Because an Ash Harpy coming down on us is going to be less than fun times for us to deal with. So now we want to drop our Runeer Commander. Comes in as a 3/3, and we want to go ahead and put pressure on the opponent. So this is going to make it easier for when we do a big swing on our next turn, in case they do drop an Ash Harpy on us. So we have a burn going directly to our champion. Alright, so now this is very good for us. So we have a Survival of the Fittest in our hand, which is going to allow us to deal with Ash Harpy. We also have a Shroom Tank, which we're going to be able to use to increase the power of our Runeer Commander. So in this case, our best option is to go ahead and drop the Shroom Tank, because we can take the first 4 from the Ash Harpy. And we can proceed to our attack step now. So we have a good set of blockers. We have a Wild Growth available in hand. And we've got good pressure on our opponent now. So with the Pyromancer in play, we know our opponent is not going to be able to drop an Ash Harpy. So we're going to be able to end this next turn. So with our 6 resources, our most efficient way to make sure that everything is taken care of is to drop a Command Tower and to drop a Wild Aura. Since we can't do both, we can do our Wild Aura and a Wild Growth onto a single troop. So we'll proceed to our attack step. And we'll want to attack with our 3 most powerful creatures, which is enough to deal lethal. Now at this step, we can go ahead and just let the blocks come through. We want to go ahead and put a Wild Aura on our 7/7, which is turned it into a 9/9 Crush. Wild Growth. So now, 1 HP is going to be absorbed, so it's going to deal 11. And our unblocked 3/3 finishes it off. So to stabilize with the Shin'hare deck, and to stabilize with most Shin'hare decks, you need to get yourself into a position to be able to block. And once you're in a position to block and in a position to handle any flyers which may come over your troops, you can do a pretty good job of wresting control from your opponent. So as always, I want to thank you for watching. Be sure that you hit that like button and subscribe button. Once we hit 300 subscribers, we're going to be giving away a closed beta key to Hex, as well as 3 packs and a draft ticket. And then we're also doing the same thing for our Twitch, but that one we just have to hit 100 followers. Once we have 100 followers, we're going to be giving away another as well. So, as always, I'm Mokog, this is HexHunter, and thanks for watching.